Good guys, welcome back to the first take, and we're going to do a little something different today. Now, some of you may have seen the new images that were released by Marvel showing Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange. Now, Doctor Strange, as much as that's a huge character within the comic book world and the Marvel world, he's also one which is a bit of a mystery for a lot of people, even comic book fans, you know, because he kind of exists kind of on the side. He's kind of one of the more unique, odder characters. So he tends to be more of a niche with the people that get into him. Not to the sort of point where he's like an alternative comic, but you know what I mean. He's not like, he doesn't have the readership of someone like Superman or Spider-Man or, you know, any of the big major comics that Marvel or DC put out. So there's a YouTube channel many of you may have known. It's called Comicstorian, and there's another one called Comics Explained. And both of these two channels, they like to get comic books. They take away that daunting prospect of actually having to wade through the shelves and shelves of comic books if you're not used to that, going into them and having a look, and they kind of break down the stories themselves and they kind of narrate it. So I figured with Doctor Strange coming later this year now, 2016, Lord, I figured, you know, even myself, someone who kind of read comics heavily as a kid and still now kind of dips into it when, you know, there's certain stories that catch my eye or I hear about. But Doctor Strange was never one of the ones I really got into, even as a kid. So even he's a bit of a mystery, even though I kind of generally know about him and know about his story. I know there's little missing gaps in my knowledge. And I know for you guys, it's probably going to be something for you. So I figured, why not just sit and watch one of these and kind of get an idea of who Doctor Strange is in preparation for the film. Let's check it out. And if you like these, maybe I'll do more.
What is the day-to-day life of the Sorcerer Supreme? Welcome to the Complete Story Series, where we take trade paperbacks and single issues and we break them down into adjustable bites to help you understand. Then we read it dramatically back to you. It's time for us to finally move to all new, all different Marvel. Now we will be doing some of the lead-up stories, some of the Battle World from Secret Wars, and some of the brand new runs. Whatever we think you need to go out and buy a comic book today. So today, we're going to be bringing you Doctor Strange, issues 1 and 2. Who is Doctor Strange? Well, his background isn't that complex, not when you consider how insane some of the origins really are. He is the world's greatest surgeon, whose talent is only exceeded by his ego. After a horrible car crash, his hands were injured beyond repair, and he would never perform surgery again. So he searched the world for a cure, something that would make him the greatest surgeon once again. What he found was magic, and he accepted the role of the Sorcerer Supreme. Each challenge that he faces has a chance to end in his doom or to end in his descent into madness. But what does the day-to-day life of someone like that look like? Well, he is in a magical-filled world, filled with demons, giant teddy bears, and one rather attractive-looking snake woman. And he's going through hitting everything with magic, telling it that it doesn't belong here. He eventually turns everything into flowers, and then he begins to get rather close to the attractive snake woman. But that's when he hears a voice beckoning to him. Doctor? Dr. Strange, can you hear me? It's the boy's mother and father. He's actually in a young boy's mind, meditating over him, and right now he's making kissing sounds. Dr. Strange breaks out of his meditation, and he tells the family, it is done. The foreign entities that were in the boy's mind have been driven out. He then walks out of the room, through the window, and the family asks how they can repay him. And he tells them simply, be friendly to your neighbor. His birthday is coming up and he dreads spending it alone. Bake him a cake and wish him a happy birthday, and we'll consider your debt paid. He then leaves. He walks through the city, wrapping his cape around him like a scarf and changing his outfit into a coat. The world is oblivious to the things around them. Demons, magic, and monsters are actually around everyone, feeding on the emotions and the thoughts of people. It's interdimensional bacteria. Most are harmless and some are even helpful, and some are someone else's burden to bear. But once in a while, Doctor Strange sees something that shouldn't be there, and he does what he can to stop those beasts, battling them right there on the city streets. But no one else can see what he's doing, and he just looks like a weirdo. So remember, all of those weirdos sitting in the city by themselves mumbling? They may be a powerful wizard chanting a spell, or they could be busy saving your life. But it does take a toll on one's soul to battle the unseen evils, and Doctor Strange walks through a wall and into a magical bar. It's a place with no doors, hidden deep in the bowels of New York, and it is here that he can talk to those who understand him. Dr. Voodoo, Shaman, and Scarlet Witch to name a few. And eventually he ends up back at his home, 177A Bleecker Street, also known as the Sanctum Sanctorum. A young girl is standing outside working up the courage to knock on the door to find the individual that she is looking for. But she finds it hard to knock when there isn't even a doorknob. As she's walking away, Dr. Strange walks up and he tells her, the doctor isn't in. He keeps odd hours. So you really don't want to go knocking on that door unless you really need to, because you never know what kind of weirdness you're going to find yourself in. Unless you're already involved in some kind of weirdness and that's why you're here. Is he even real? Oh, he's real, alright. You know, he calls this place the Sanctum Sanctorum, which is Latin for Holy of Holies. Why did you say you're here again? Because we get all kinds of people standing right where you are now, working up the nerve to knock. Tourists, nut jobs, groupies, and sometimes people who really need it. Are you sure you don't want to knock? So the young woman decides she will when she walks up. And she works up all of her courage to knock on that door. And Dr. Strange walks in behind her. Well, are you coming in or not, Miss Stanton? She walks in and asks, how did you know my name? Really? That's the first question you choose to ask? How about you take off your hat and show me why you're really here, Zelma Stanton of the Bronx? So she does, and he looks into her scalp to see eyeballs and teeth. Well, that's new. I've officially never seen that before, Dr. Strange says, looking at it oddly. He hits it with a spell to understand it and see what it is. And he understands that it is soul eaters. And then suddenly they take off into the sky, infesting the house. But as he puts it, those were only the birds that fly away when you startle them. What's really inside of her head, the doctor thinks. So he hits her with the Crimson Band's Acidorock, and nothing happens. He looks down at his hand, and then he's suddenly overwhelmed by the creatures swarming him. He scared them out of her head, but now they're running through the house. He tells Wong, his assistant, to lock down the house. They have unwanted visitors. And then he hands Zelma a sword. Here, take this. You'll be perfectly safe, I promise. If I was going to be safe, why would I need the sword? Just how dangerous are those little things? I have no idea, but I guarantee you this. The house is more dangerous. He then leads her through his home, warning her not to touch anything, as the Sanctum is the greatest concentration of occult phenomena in existence. Simply opening the wrong door can literally release hell on earth. He then points in a corner, and that's just a refrigerator. Seriously, don't go near my refrigerator. In my travels, I've developed eccentric tastes. She looks over and sees a bunch of snakes on his coffee table. Are those supposed to be snakes on your coffee table? Do not talk to the snakes. They continue to walk through the house, and Dr. Strange points out 3 of them have died in the bathhouse. So he knows that they can die. They then walk upstairs, down some stairs, sideways on some stairs, and diagonally on some stairs. They basically walk all over some stairs, and Zelma is overwhelmed. But then she sees the most horrifying sight of all, his library. How dare he stack his books like that? Inside the library, they find a few of the creatures, but one of them is scaring Dr. Strange, as it now has the Grimoire of Watum. The creature then opens it up, trapping both Dr. Strange and Zelma inside the book. It spins out of control, throwing them both out of it, and Zelma lands alone near a door that is slightly ajar. She decides to look inside to see monsters demanding meat for eating, but the supernatural scar that is the remaining creatures in her head bites their fingers, saving her. She then wanders through the sanctum alone, and she ends up in the kitchen where she sees the creatures trying to open the fridge. She tells them to stop, but they open it, and she gets to look inside his refrigerator. She then runs in horror as a creature comes crawling out of it. Luckily, Wong shows up and hits it with a frying pan and then throws it in a pot to cook. He throws in some spices and some sauces, and then he offers to lead Zelma back to the good doctor. They walk into the main hall, and she freaks out on Dr. Strange. Oh my god, zombies tried to eat me, and then your refrigerator went all Raiders of the Lost Ark on my face. Wong smirks and leaves, and the doctor tells him, I did warn her about the refrigerator, Wong. I did, I swear. Dr. Strange explains that they got the creatures away from the books, but they escaped again. He then explains that they are still linked to Zelma, and he wants to use this link to lure them back to her. She freaks out. You want to put them back in my head? Never! I did some research. They are mind maggots, and I need you to trust me. I'll take care of them before they can do any real harm. Now I need you to shout your darkest secret at the top of your lungs to attract them. Zelma can't believe this mess, but she is eventually talked into it. I think my sister's baby is ugly, and I tell my mom I'm a vegetarian to avoid her meatloaf, and I eat a Roxy burger twice a week, and I voted J. Jonah Jameson for mayor. The secrets are working, and Dr. Strange can see them trying to return, but he stands in their way, and he absorbs them into himself. He becomes the new host. He hits the ground with their faces popping out all over his skin, and he tells Zelma, it's over. She can go. She is curious, though. How did this stop them now that he is infected? And he explains that they feed on psychic energy, but his mind is well protected, and they'll find no meals here. So they'll die out from starvation if the other parasites in his body don't eat them first. He escorts her to the door and he lets her out, asking her, you know, I could use a hand around here. If you're interested, you could come by and sort my books. She gives him a weird look. Is that a euphemism? No, I actually mean sort my books. You've seen my library. She thinks about it and she tells him that she'll be by on Saturdays. She could use a little weird in her life. Dr. Strange and Wong walk back into the house to prepare for their next insane adventure. As I said at the start, this is the all-new, all-different Marvel run, so if you want to follow along, go pick up the next issue of Doctor Strange, which is issue number 3. I don't know if we'll be getting to it, we probably will eventually. As for those of you guys asking for more Marvel stories, we are now finally trying to bridge the gap for you, so...
Dude, man, I've heard a lot of how surreal and bizarre Doctor Strange is, and that's just like a small glimpse of the new Doctor Strange. Like, this shit, I don't even know how many decades Doctor Strange has been around. He's one of those ones that's probably been around since the 60s or 70s. So there's a many years of story, and if it's all surreal like that, how, like, I'm baffled. It's actually made me way more interested in seeing what they can do with the film, because they've gotten the horror director, I'm forgetting his name, but I believe it was the guy that was behind, was it Sinister? Or what? All these horror films that have been coming out the last 10 years all starting to blur into one mess. It's getting difficult to differentiate, but yeah, it's a horror director that had like a cool series behind him, you know, an interesting visual style. So bringing him into a Marvel movie, into a surreal character like Doctor Strange, like if they're gonna do some of these visuals, not this actual story, but that style of weird, like that Sanctum Sanctorum where the stairs are all going all over the place and doors can lead to different dimensions, just seeing that brought to life on the screen on a big budget movie, like that is fascinating to me. And even you look at the photos, like I said earlier, of Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange, you just kind of get the taste of the potential of this, man. It's like, wow. And it's actually made me way more curious in this character now. This character who's been there on the fringes, but I've never really delved into. Apparently there's like alternate dimensions that he crosses over into, and apparently we're gonna get a taste of that in the film. Hell dimensions and like I don't even, wow. Yeah, that's gonna be some interesting shit, man. Yeah, and apparently Kevin Feige from Marvel, the guys runs the show over there, is saying that things are gonna get really surreal in that movie. They're gonna really try and push the boundaries of what they can do with that thing. So what did you guys think? You fans of Doctor Strange, or is he kind of an oddity for you, just a big question mark? And does this kind of make you more interested to check it out? It does for me, man, I gotta say. And what do you think about checking out these Comicstorian videos? Do you want me to do some more? Like I was thinking about doing some for Deadpool, basically any upcoming movies, and for anyone who's kind of not that familiar with the characters who'd want to kind of delve in and learn a bit more. I'm curious to do that, man. Let me know. Give me some feedback. Write comments down below. If you like the video, please subscribe up there. Check out the Comicstorian channel. I'll put a link down below. You can check out these guys, man, because they've got, I don't even know how many videos, hundreds, just crossing the full gamut of comic book stories, just condensed into these small narrative. And also there's another one, Comic Book Explained. It's a similar thing as well. But yeah. But if you like the video, give me a thumbs up. I'm Eddie Reese, and this has been my first take to Comicstorian, Doctor Strange, Way of the Weird, complete story. Yeah, that was cool, man. Yeah, whatever, people.